How dare you, StreamYard? I know that my connection better get better, right? Who's here first? They can't keep us down. 420 Wild Dragon. Well, hello there. How are you doing? Thank you for joining again. Another night you're hanging out with me. Empress, you're here too? Wowzers, loving it. Donna, thank you. Hello. All that's not. Yes, pray for the truth. That's right. Thank you. I've been praying. Hello, Pops. Shalom to you. Thanks for hanging out again. And Kathy from Vista, Cali. So, Kathy, please keep the door open, as I say, for anybody who wants to come on in. We have Herschel Sanders. You leave the door open, okay? Oh, my. You know what happens. I told you I do my own hair. I was like, what is that on my face? It's my hair. Okay, 1 minute. I got to fix the bun. Okay. This is what happens. You know, it's all. This is what I won't let TSA do. You cannot touch the buns, right? Okay. We're all good. Am I hiding anything in there? Thanks for joining on Facebook, on Twitch. Okay. Yes, you're welcome. Thank you for coming back, Kathy. Johnny, you're here. Borealis. I hope Adam survived his vacation. We got to talk about that, you know. Johnny, was that like, you guys have to tell me what happened yesterday? What exactly was going on? What's your thoughts? T. Witten, hello. I want to hear from you. Dave Walker, what happened yesterday? Were you here? Mrs. Harris, my John from Philly. Thanks for joining. Hola. I'm telling you, listen, yesterday was cray. I don't know exactly what happened, but we know what happened, but we're back, okay? So we'll just start and I'll try to figure out where I left off, but if I have anything to add I'm not going to show the video from yesterday. If you weren't here hanging out with us, I made it was Adam's birthday. I found out in the chatmosphere. We were wishing him, happy birthday. And I was going to play this video just to show the American sort of, the middle part of America, the Western part, what you think of, and not so much the cities, but that sort of like open land. And it was from a resort that's in Utah, which is right near the Navajo Nation, some of their, territory, tribal land. And the video, I'm not going to play it, okay? But it creeped some people out, and some people thought it was beautiful because of the way it was shot, but it was some stuff going on. And some people have theories that maybe the video did something to the live stream. Just tell me what, but I'm not going to play the video. But I was just joking and saying, okay, Adam, this would be your gift. We're going to send you to this resort. I don't know. I hope Adam shows up. Let me know if Adam shows up. Okay. I wasn't trying to do anything weird. So anyway, let's see where we can pick up. I know I talked about the article, and I'm going to pull that article up because that was something that yesterday I didn't get a chance to actually show you all from the LA Times. I know that we always say, you know, the media is what it is, but this was 1930s LA Times. You be the judge, okay? And I know in the chatmosphere last night, somebody was mentioning that, you know, this is the kind of reporting that you see in the National Enquirer, right? When you're checking out and you're like, I don't want anybody to know that I'm reading the National Enquirer, but you would never like buy it. You just look at it because it's so enticing, right? But it's always like Bigfoot, giants, UFO, right? All that stuff. But turns out they've been telling the truth about a lot of stuff. And that's just how the truth is, right? To be hidden in a janky, crazy little newspaper rag. But the thing about this, and, you know, like I said, you know, 1930s LA Times. Let me stop the screen because I just want to show you all. I shared the link. So if you want to keep it and show people and, you know, have it for your own files, here it is. So you can see, let me make it bigger for you. Okay, now I want to ask you all your opinion, okay? Because I'm going to submit some things for you all to review, okay? Some things I'm thinking, okay? The spelling of people. Do you think, like, am I reading too much into it? Like, tell me what you think. Did you see that the lizard people is misspelled? It's Piolpes, lizard Piolpes. So I'm just saying, like, do you think, and I looked through the article and they spelled it this way consistently. What is your opinion? I mean, I know people are human, but gosh, didn't they have editors to like check the spelling of people's? So do you think it's anything to it? Yeah, Lisa, isn't that wild? 1934. So this is what was printed in the LA Times. This was not printed in a gossip newspaper. This is considered mainstream news. Now, the backstory on this, just to refamiliarize. I won't read the whole thing, but it basically says that January 20th, as you see, 1934, lizard Piolpes, Catacomb City, hunted. Engineer sinks shaft under Fort Moore Hill to find maze of tunnels and priceless treasures of legendary inhabitants. And you see the name Jean Bosquet, if I said it correctly there. So here we are. I'm going to go through to, it's 3 pages. So let's just see 2. All right. And it says that basically this is beneath the city of Los Angeles, although they have found these catacombs under the 4 states, they call the 4 corners, which is Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado. So that is what, in terms of disclosure, like it's no big deal. They talk about it openly that, it's a lot of underground cities and catacombs, labyrinths, and they connect from the South American, like furthest part of South America, but we can just kind of focus on Peru because remember we talked about Peru, we talked about Cusco, which they call the navel of the world realm. And again, let me just retell this story. When I was talking about Cusco, I was talking to my mom about Cusco, Peru, and she happened to say, because my mother is the archives of the family, she remembers details that are so amazing. So she says that she remembers a friend of hers older sister had gone away on the to the Peace Corps, and she was dispatched to Cusco, Peru, and she was never found. She went down, I guess, somewhere in the bowels of Cusco, and she was never found. Her family never had anything recovered of hers, and they couldn't even have her body returned home. So that's something that I thought, wow, I never heard my mom tell a story like that. I was like, that's really amazing. So she knows somebody that had been touched by someone disappearing down below underground, like deep, deep, deep. And also, if you look up Cusco, Peru, you will see that there was one incident that I remembered, from reading about it. It was a school trip. So it was a lot of younger children and their teachers, and they went on a school trip. Can you imagine, down into the labyrinth in Peru? And the children were walking, and they never found them. They got lost. If you can imagine a labyrinth, and they say that Cusco is so it's just so intricate and it's so dark. And I don't know, you don't have a map to get through it, but they say that if you go deep, deep, deep into the recesses, like you're starting to really turn corners and get through it, they say that not even a flashlight can you see. Like you cannot even see just that close. It's so dark. So I'm just saying that is for people who just can't believe this stuff. It's a fact. There are receipts, and catacombs do exist. I have been inside catacombs, so I know, for one, I've seen it. I felt it. And also, hey, Big Pontiac, thanks for joining. Hey there, greetings, power people. I love it. Oh, Gail's here. Hi, Gail. Thanks for joining. Love to see you. And Tina, you made it. Hey, Kathy, hello. Hello, hello. Thank you. So the thing about the labyrinths, I want to talk about labyrinths on another live stream, or maybe I'll do it as an upload, because I got some things that were coming to me about labyrinths and the use of them. But so I was talking about Cusco, Peru, people being lost in the labyrinths, and they say that this city here, these cities, catacombs and things like this underneath Los Angeles, is something about the proximity to the ocean as well, that there are vents that they find, and something about the water helps with the venting of these underground labyrinths. And what else did it say? There were some treasures that were hidden. And I want to say that really connects to the ancient people. When you read about kings and how they would be funeralized from Egypt to Babylon to Persia, and now we're seeing the Americas, is that their treasure was buried with them, because they believed in the afterlife they would need their goods. So they would have lots of gold statues. And if anybody is really tinfoily and you saw that chamber, it was like some kind of hermetic chamber, and they claimed that they had found the body of Gilgamesh, who would also be Nimrod. and they found the body of Gilgamesh over in Iraq. So a lot of these wars that we've had, they have been more than what they've told us, that narrative. But a lot of it, they loot the artifacts that are under the ground. They are looking for things, very specific things. And I won't get into it right now. We could talk about it. I know I've shown pictures of Gilgamesh. You've seen it, where you can see Egyptian artifacts, and he's supposed to be Babylonian. And you're like, wait a minute, why would a Babylonian king have, like pharaoh heads with the snake of wisdom on the headdress? Why is all that in this Babylonian king's chamber? Well, it's starting to look like all of these civilizations were here on the world realm at the same time. Imagine that. We're thinking that everything is disconnected. It's all connected. And the land masses that we know now, that's not how things were. There were kingdoms and empires, and, Mesopotamia, Babylonia, even if you want to go even before that, there's a lot of things that have been found, tablets, okay, all kinds of everything, okay, funerary things. And it's hard to deny that history has been hidden in terms of hiding almost a century of time. You can give or take 700 to 1,000 years are basically not really accounted for, that I've been noticing. Now, somebody may want to debate that, but it's too much that we're starting to uncover. It's really hard to keep this lie going about history. And I really love looking at history. I've never loved it more than I do now. And it is really helping me to understand where we are, at what time we are. And, I'm just saying, it's very interesting. And okay, let me finish up with this article. And again, I'll put the link in the description, but I have it in the previous videos too, if you've seen that. So the engineer, what happened was he was talking to the Hopi nation, and the Hopi had mythology about lizard people. Yeah, I said it, lizard people. Okay. So the Hopi have these myths. And again, what they call myth and what they call truth, we're starting to see that it might be inverted. So whenever I hear myth now, I don't just shut down and just think, oh, it's no truth to it, because that's what myth used to do. When I heard that word, I was like, oh yeah, so it's been debunked, right? It's a myth. So if the Hopi are telling these so-called myths, and their narrative is lining up with other cultures that they call the serpentine cultures, the dragon cultures, the snake cultures, where you will see in their reliefs, see, the stones are talking to us. That's why we love the mud flood thing, is that architecture, it tells history. And they can't make up they cannot lie about this architecture through the world realm, and how it has a very distinct theme that runs through it. And they've wanted to just gaslight us. Oh, this is the Baroque period. This is the Renaissance. This is the Victorian period. No, y'all have been lying. This is that's all Babylonian. I'm just going to say Babylonian. And it's all, let me tell you, they've been running concurrent, these timelines. So it's time for us to really talk about this stuff. It used to be a time I would worry about people and what they thought. I know I don't care about that so much. I don't mind a debate though. I'll welcome a debate. It's just if it doesn't get personal in terms of attacks, because I've had a few people come to the channel new, and they don't know you, but they just come off right away with the condescending attitude, accusing you of whatever. And you're just thinking, wow, like, it's not even that I want to just hear good things. I don't mind a person, like, there was a sister who told me, like, the music's too loud, Jennifer, and I was like, thank you. That's feedback. Or if I, like I said, I invite you all, while we're doing the live streams, correct me. I welcome it. Okay. So if somebody's coming into a comment section and they just, like, right away want to insult you, then there's no debate, there's no conversation at that point. And so that's, that happened with the Adam and Eve thing that I did. And I want to also preface this. Okay. This is for anybody who has been, like me, nervous to read the apocryphal books. I was nervous to read the Book of Enoch. I've shared that testimony. I felt all my life when I asked certain questions, I was shut down in some kind of way by, an influencer in the church, a pastor, whatever. And, I was the kind of person, I tried to read the scriptures and show myself approved. Okay. I would read my Bible. I wasn't playing around. I read the Bible from cover to cover at least 3 times. And, then I come before the pastor. It's like, I want to talk about stuff. And you quickly see that that's not really encouraged. Okay. So you're the weird Christian, and you might find another weird Christian friend, and you guys are talking about, all the stuff that's not okay to do. And then you get attacked, not by the heathen and unbeliever, but you get attacked by fellow Christians. And that's the thing that I find that's disheartening, when a fellow Christian will just, like, want to unfriend you because you're talking about giants, and you're like, really, that offended you? And this is how I feel for, people that have a problem with Christians that are now waking up to the apocryphal books. I just want to say this. If you weren't offended by the millions of babies that are genocided in the womb here in America, if that doesn't offend you enough to go do a lot of this rah-rah stuff, because, yeah, I didn't see a lot of you evangelicals on the front lines of that battle. I saw Catholics, though, but that's another story. But if that didn't offend you, if the churches being shut in 2020 didn't offend you, if all of these things didn't offend you, and you're offended by a group of Christians that merely want to read books that have been suppressed, like, you gotta be kidding. You got bigger fish to fry in this nation that kills babies indiscriminately on demand. Y'all need to get offended at that, and then check back with me for reading the Book of the Bees, the Adam and Eve books, the Book of Enoch, Jasher, Maccabees. Don't be offended at somebody wanting to read that and sort through it. And yes, we're new at this stuff. It's new because it's been suppressed. So we're sorting it out. We're trying to figure it out. At least we're trying to do that. It can be scary, because, yeah, you don't want to fall into deception. But with everything you seek, you seek Jah in wisdom. But I just want to say, listen, if you want to do it, just get up, like, get some nerve up, okay? Because I had to do it. And I had to face being whatever, unfriended by people over that kind of stuff. And then you just think the church here, I'm just going to say, in America, the church in America has no place of authority anymore. in this world realm to try to judge another believer for wanting to read apocryphal books. You must be kidding me. This Laodicean church here in America that lets all of this just degeneracy happen, all of this stuff happen on our watch, and you would have a nerve to be a mad at some other believer. I'm just sorry. I just want to say that because that's something that's kind of happening to other believers. They're being ostracized and treated bad because they want to read these books and talk about them. And I'm just saying, wow, really? Now, the persecuted church in this world realm at this time, the persecuted church that's in China, now, if they wanted to say something, that's like some real deal like Christianity, the persecuted church throughout the world realm. They're really doing something. They're not comfortable with Starbucks in their lobbies and all that stuff. All right. That was a rant that I didn't expect, but I just wanted to just say that if you want to read the apocryphal books, get down with your bad self, okay? Do it. Let's see. So we were at Lizards Under LA. Let me get back on track. Okay, so they say these tunnels are about 30 kilometers down. And so the Hopi, they tell these ancient stories. And another thing I want to repeat is that throughout the cultures, they all have a flood narrative, and they all like have pictures and things that it's clear that there was a cataclysmic flood event that is epigenetic in all cultures in the world. And it's amazing. So these are really powerful things. So these legends and stories by the oral historians talking about lizard people. And yeah, we owe somebody an apology. I was talking about that last night. So people have reported experiences with the lizard people, okay? And we have to believe all people that they've had experiences with lizards, okay? You got to listen to the testimony before you try to tell them that they are fact-checked, okay? So they have, and even in these current times, it's not like just back in the 30s or anything. This is still being reported, these experiences. So the Hopi are basically the Anazazis that I talked about them a few months ago, and they have the architecture that's within the cliffs of the mountains. So the Anasazi are seen by the Navajo as ancient enemies. And that's another thing that I wanted to say about a lot of the nations and tribes here in the Americas. Because we don't understand the history of this nation, I'll say, it's really nations within nations. And because we don't understand our origins, we've fallen into, a lot of us have fallen into this lie that race, and if you look like a person, then you're all in the same tribe. No, 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 no. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. You heard that. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. And I'm going to say including people in your family sometimes, because this is about nations and tribes. It's not about race. Because all of these tribes and nations have been at war, and it's really good versus evil. This is two bloodlines, basically. It may be more, but it's basically boiled down to two bloodlines. And these two bloodlines are at war. And, it may be somebody that wasn't initially in that bloodline, but they want to defect over to that side. And that's what they made a choice to do. So that's what it is. And it could be people that are in your family. They may take an oath to be on one side, and you don't know the oaths that people have taken. Sometimes they do keep them completely secret, right? Some people don't find out about their loved ones' affiliations and oaths until they die. And then you're like, I didn't know my grandfather was a Rosicrucian. I mean, you start finding all the paraphernalia, the books and everything. So you don't know that people take these oaths and they make these decisions, and for whatever reason they've chosen to be in another tribe. Okay, so let's see. So there are a complex of networks that link a lot of the communities, because I believe that some of the native tribes or nations were these nations of giants. So they survived the flood. We've talked about that. So they would be the Nephilim, the offspring of the Nephilim. And then you have the offspring that came through Seth, I guess you would say, but ultimately, we're doing the Cain and Abel thing. Okay, so I heard some stuff about Seth that I was like, okay, Seth, you kind of, I didn't know you did that, Seth. We'll talk about Seth at another time. I don't want to get hung up on that. Okay, so how we doing? Oh, the connections are good. Thank you. Okay, great. And I'm going to come and see everybody who's here in a bit. But I just want to pick up where I left off yesterday, because it's a lot here. Okay, so the Hopi, they had deep knowledge of celestial sciences. So it can be seen in their architecture that they understood the stars, okay? And that's very similar to the so-called Egyptians. They understood the stars. The Persians, the Babylonians understood the stars. So you have a certain priest group that understand the stars. So they're your scientists. But the Hopi had a very deep knowledge of the stars. And so let's see, where else am I? Let me get back to this article. I mentioned that there was a lot of gold, right? Okay, so let's look at these. It says, did strange people live under site of Los Angeles? They say 5,000 years ago. Now, we know that they play with the time, and that keeps us off balance, because their timeline is definitely a joke. And that's what we just have to figure it all out. So here we are with, they say, amazing labyrinth, underground passages and caverns, hundreds of feet below the surface of Fort Moore Hill. I didn't look up Fort Moore Hill. If anybody is in the chat from LA, just let us know. So they say that the Indians called this the Lost Lizard City. And so you can see how this looks like a labyrinth, and these pictures aren't really that good. But if you take, okay, what else did I miss here? I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. So that's the article. And let's see what you're saying. Who's here? Who's new? Alan Crooks. Well, hello. Thanks for joining. Glad you're here. Nixon, did I see you, Nixon? You're here too? Sharon, hello. I'm so glad you're here. Libby, you say, I have a friend who is an Anasazi Indian in New Mexico. This is a fabulous conversation, Jen. Good vibes. Thank you. I'm glad you all. Thanks for joining, Libby. So nice to see you. Hey, Looking. So true. Glad you said that. Raised baby of 8 and found later baby of 9 and another cis. Wild wave here since 2019. Oh, wow. Hey, Lori, you're here from Cali. Yay. Thanks for joining us, our Cali fam. Deanne, hello. We have Dawn from Texas. Hello. You said that you like that all skin folk and kinfolk. That includes anybody, right? Just because they share a hue in your skin, that doesn't mean that they're automatically your kinfolk, okay? We have learned that, I hope, by now. Hey, Nixon, I thought I saw you join the chat atmosphere. Love seeing you. I was actually thinking about you. I missed you. And Dom, Dom, I'm still crazy. Thanks for coming by, Dom. It's so nice to see you. Okay, so let's see. Oh boy. Let me get back to my slides. That might help me to pick up where I need to go because I have so much. I'm just excited that we're back on together. Okay, so here we go. Back to Nipsey Hussle. Now, I didn't get a chance to do this yesterday, but I want to publicly denounce, family, my idol, Nipsey Hussle, one of my idols, because I'm not going to act like, oh, I've just only had one idol. Let me tell you, admitting to idolatry it's kind of cringe, it doesn't feel great, but I'm just going to say that on the record, I held Nipsey Hussle, Eremias, I held him in a position of an idol. And there's something going on with Nipsey Hussle right now in terms of the conversation out in the, as they say, on the streets, okay? So I'll talk about it a little, not a whole lot, but I'm glad that, I can just tell you all that I don't want to have any idols. So I denounce that idol of Nipsey Hussle. And it turns out he's probably nothing of what I thought. Dana, hello. Thanks for joining. Dana's on Twitch. I love it. Thank you. So Nipsey and the whole LA trope, he was the LA streets. He was this persona of someone who came up and they were independent. They were not mainstream. And that's what really, they already know the scripts that really, like, we are programmed to gravitate to a story of a rags to riches, someone who just, they hustled. It's in the name, Nipsey Hussle. But the Nipsey thing is weird too, because if you have this Ethiopian king kind of name and, your street name or altar, we'll say your altar is Nipsey Hussle, there's a story behind why he chose it, but it still sounds a lot like the comedian from the 70s, Nipsey Russell. And there's some real tinfoily kind of thing that's going on with that. But the one thing I want to say about Nipsey and this whole gang culture is that I have heard allegedly, and you can fact check this, when Nipsey Hussle was killed, assassinated, as they say, the gang violence in LA, it went up. So it was a weird kind of thing, but he is possibly nothing of what we thought in terms of this Black Messiah type of guy. So I just want to say that it's some strange things going on with that. And I just want to say also, can we just say sorry, Dave? I think we need to apologize to David Icke at this point too. Because this guy, I'm going to tell you, someone gave me a David Icke book to read. I told you that story, right? Another nurse. And she was like, you have to read it. And it was the greatest, biggest secret or whatever, that book. And I read it and I was amazed. I was just like, enthralled. And soon as it got to the lizards, the reptilians, the shapeshift, I closed the book. I said, I'm done. I'm out. That is a deal breaker. I am not talking about no reptilians. So I shut down to David Icke after the reptilians. I was like, yeah. So yeah, sorry, Dave, okay, because it doesn't really sound so crazy now, but it did sound real cray cray when I know, right, Nixon? Poor David. he has known the truth for decades. You know, it's hard when someone is an early truther. So just take heart. If you're starting to come into what they call the truth community, and baby, the truth community is it's a wild ride. Okay. You need a Sherpa. I wouldn't go in alone. It could be a labyrinth. Okay. Don't go in alone to the truth community because it's so much disinformation. It's so many little weird twists and turns in what they call the truth community. So, you know, you have people that, you know, will say that David Icke is COINTELPRO, he's an agent, he's a Jesuit, he's a this, he's a that. Oh, I'm saying all the words. Wait, let me make sure my connection stays good. I was only kidding, okay? YouTube, Google, I'm only joking. This is all alleged, okay? So anyway, so David Icke is thought to be kind of like they say that, what's his name, Screaming Alex Jones is nothing but a government agent. He's a CIA, he's this, he's that, he's lying, he's this. He may be all of that, but I think that at the end of the day, he was used in a good way. A lot of them were. I'm going to just hand it to you. Whatever you guys can say about crazy Alex Jones screaming and sweating, he really made me question things. Okay, he made me get sassy with the TSA when I realized, oh no, you're not making me take my Princess Leia buns. You're not going to check my afro. I'm a citizen here. You're not going to treat me like a criminal. So I think I'm going to blame Alex Jones for that, okay? But it's also my personality. I don't like that kind of unfair stuff. But I'm just saying, Alex Jones, he served a good purpose. I'm not going to say that he is 100% whatever. I don't know who's 100% whatever, right? But I'm just saying, David Icke, he talked about these reptilians shape-shifting, and he got trolled for decades. And now, where are his trolls? Where are they now? Because he doesn't look so crazy right now, right? So I'm just saying, hey, Molly. And Lori's here. Hello. Alex tried to tell us. He did. He tried to tell us. So I'm just saying, you know, but yeah, sorry, Dave. Let me get moving. So this right here, I know some of you don't know about Nipsey Hussle. Don't you love this? This is where we talk about Gilgamesh, Nipsey Hussle. We might talk about the Kardashians. Then we'll go and talk about Greek literature. We'll talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is like crazy, okay? But we talk about it all because I just see all the crazy connections. So just sit back and I'll look into the crazy connections. You don't have to know about Nipsey Hussle. I'll tell you about him, okay? So Nipsey, as I learn, because I'm not sure Nipsey Hussle. Are you even Nipsey Hussle? Are you what? Who are you? Okay? We all know about the Dr. Sabi documentary. I'm starting to look sideways at you now and Nick Cannon, okay? Nick Cannon with your turban and having a million children. Anyway, that's a tangent. Okay, so this right here represents this is very iconic Los Angeles, and it's giving you a little bit of that movie where the lady was doing her lawn, whatever. I don't know what the horse symbolism is. I kind of do, but I'm not going to get into it right now. But Nipsey, I just want to say this that's really disturbing on the streets of the rap and the media. And I'm going to talk about the goddess Medea at another time, but I'm going to reference Medea because social media is now the new media, period. The old, as they say, the dinosaur media, they're dead on the vine. Nobody likes them. CNN can't even do anything poppin'. Like they're dead. Okay, so it's these independent, they start out independent influencers that they have started like platforms like YouTube platforms, and they have just become very powerful. And there are a few right now that, you know, I'm just kind of figuring some things out. There's a guy that goes by the name of, hold it, you won't believe that I'm about to bring this up, DJ Academics, okay? Can someone throw in the chatmosphere DJ Academics in case our other brethren would like to know how it's spelled? So you have a guy named DJ Academics. Now he carved this niche for himself brilliantly, where he talked about culture, like this is considered culture, you know, music, fashion, the streets. And there is something disturbing happening. We know, especially us truthers, conspiracy theorists, we've always heard that when people want to go up in the world of influence, power, entertainment, anything political, there are going to be tapes of people. Thank you, Dana. See, this is how you spell DJ Academics, okay? It's all going to tie. I'm going to tie it in a minute. Thank you, Dana. So these people that become like a DJ Academics, where their channel, their YouTube channel just like becomes, it is major media at this point. So DJ Academics, he mentioned that he was invited to, I guess, help an artist, okay, become poppin', as they say, poppin', like pop culture. So he took under his wing this really odd artist, Tekashi 69 or something like that. So he made this man's career literally go through the roof, like where it was monetizable. And, you know, when you create the drama behind the scenes, and that's what's going on with all of history, because even though this may not be your wheelhouse, I want to just say and submit to you that it's all the same kind of, what is it, like operation that goes on. These campaigns and the war to get the throne. This is a war, you know, to get the throne. Watch the throne. And these people are infighting, and they are forming coalitions and all kinds of things, but they have a lot of blackmail on each other. And some people have to pay the people that kind of have the tapes, because it seems like there are gatekeepers that keep the sex tapes on these elite. You know, we heard about Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein. They had organized tapes on different people. And this is how the honey traps are, the honey pots rather, but also we've heard about rituals that they have to do. And this is just how everybody keeps everybody on a level playing field, is that everybody is vulnerable. And it turns out that Nipsey Hussle, possibly, I mean, he's supposedly dead. I don't know who's really dead, whatever, okay? But he supposedly was assassinated. And there is a sex tape, possibly, allegedly, with him and this woman right here was his girlfriend, not wife, but what happens with women like her name is Lauren London. And when women are part of this elite circle, they may have a man and that's his woman, but she's for the community. She's for the brotherhood, okay, or sisterhood. She's for anybody. So they share their women. And it's alleged that there was some orgy kind of deal, menage a trois going on with Nipsey, and somebody has the tape. So this is a weird thing that's happening because we're seeing tapes with Kim Kardashian even coming back up. It's a very strange culture, and these people they're just ratcheting up their darkness so much. And this is what's being discussed in mainstream. So there's a guy named Whack 100. And Whack 100 could possibly be a gatekeeper for all of these sex tapes. And I'm not saying that he gets paid to not bring them to the public, but that's the kind of stuff that happens when you have the intrigue. But I'm starting to lean towards the fact that Nipsey Hussle was not this Black Messiah. He wasn't anything in terms of the image. Okay. I don't know who he was, but they sold it as he was a man with Ethiopian blood, and he could, because he definitely looks from the Horn of Africa. They say, Eritrea, and don't get mad at me, Eritreans, but that's all Ethiopia. Okay. Let's just call it what it is. That's all Ethiopia. So, anyway, if it's true, it just reveals how sick these circles of the elite are. And if anybody is listening to this and they're considering wanting to go after the materialism of this Babylonian system, I would just say it's really hard to do it in the entertainment world without doing these weird oaths and things, okay? It's really strange. We thought that Nipsey Hussle was an independent artist. And that's what I think I was so drawn to. Like, wow, he's doing this on his own. But it's very rare that a person can do this on their own. It is like a soap opera. And that's a good thing that you pointed out, because the soap opera is based on the human drama. And this is where they get the noir. Everything is based on this, like the dramas of even Shakespearean on those levels. This is the intrigue that goes on, the whispering campaigns behind the scenes, always trying to take down the king. Now, Nipsey, they claim a lot of people were envious of him, so they wanted to do some sort of correction. I don't know, but it was really strange. And I just want to say this right here shows me that, he probably wasn't independent, because look at who he's with. And even though he could have signed later, he's still with the ones that who they are. And I just want to bring this up before I get into some more stuff about the Nagas, okay? But I want to ask you all, have you ever thought that it was strange that, and this is some Negrescence right here, okay? I'm going to get the Negrescence weaved in, because I want to know what's up with the Negrescence. But these three so-called Black men had funerals at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Now, there may have been more. If I'm missing anybody else who's ever had a public funeral at the Staples Center, if I'm missing anybody, let me know. But I'm just talking about these three right now. So you have Michael Jackson, who had a funeral at the Staples Center. You have Kobe Bryant, not in this order necessarily, because the next one would be Nipsey Hussle, aka Eremias Ashkadum. You have then Kobe Bryant. Now, I think that's very strange. Do you? How is it that other people are not funeralized at the Staples Center? And what does this mean? Exactly. You knew it was coming, Lori, so you just might as well know it's going to be mentioned. I felt that Negrescence was coming. Yes, it is. It's here, baby. So I just want to know why. Why were they funeralized? Has anybody ever looked into that? If you have, share it with me, or even later after this live stream, if you have an idea as to the significance of having funerals at the Staples Center. And Nipsey Hussle, he wasn't on the level of Michael Jackson, or I would even say Kobe Bryant. But I would say that Michael Jackson, when they did that for him, I kind of understood, because I was just thinking he's such a superstar celebrity. They may have a lot of international people who would want to come. So that I kind of like didn't see the weirdness. But when when they did this for Nipsey and Kobe, then I'm thinking that's very strange. So I'm just, I'm going to put that there for a minute. And we know that in history, there's a lot of strange occurrences. There may be earthquakes, of course, they're kind of seen as natural disasters, but there's a lot of weird stuff that's happened in these cities, the turn of the century, the 19th century, late 1800s. They had a lot of weird things going on and discoveries underneath the city of Los Angeles. So I just want to show this picture here. So this would be, probably one of the bigger quakes that happened. And as these quakes disrupt what's underneath, they have plenty of, receipts that there's a lot underground. And like I said, treasures are also buried. Now I want to mention that for anybody who's ever visited the Grand Canyon, who's ever been to the Grand Canyon, I went to the Grand Canyon one time, and it was I just off the cuff took my daughter. We were living in LA, and I said, let's go to the Grand Canyon. Let's do it, and I drove there, and it was amazing. I was truly amazed. But also, there's a lot of secrecy when you go to the Grand Canyon. And I thought it was about the respect of the tribal people, of course, but there's just a lot of government type of, what I'm saying? They own the lands and it's off limits to people. And you just start to wonder why. Well, the explorations that they've had in the Grand Canyon area, they have found Egyptian artifacts at the Grand Canyon. So are you going, God's Alley, in May? You will love it. It is wonderful. One thing that I didn't know is that I wanted to ride the mules down to the floor, and you can camp, or I think, they have hotels at the bottom, or you could come back up. I don't know. They told me you have to book this in advance, like far in advance. So if you want to do that, God's Alley, try to get it booked if you want to do the mules. But if you do, let us know. Okay. I'd love to know. Dana, you've been to the Grand Canyon. So what's up with the Egyptian artifacts that have been found at the Grand Canyon? And the Egyptian thing, one of the things I'm realizing, the native people in the different nations that live in the Americas, they are the same as the people overseas. We have Egyptians. We have these people fled. They survived the flood. They fled Babylonian captivities. These are a lot of tribes here in the Americas. And that's why I said earlier that all skin folk ain't kinfolk, because there are many tribes that are mixed in after, maybe they burned down villages and somebody escaped. They went to another tribe if they were friendly with another tribe, another nation, and they assimilated. So it's so much mixing of the tribes. But there are tribes that we know, because of their practices, their customs, and their culture, that they are of the line of Cain, as well as the Nephilim. Yeah, I said it, okay? The Nephilim, the giants, they find the bones, okay, everybody? They have sacred mounds all over Ohio. So if you want to fact check it, it's there. So they have sacred burial grounds. They have accounts from the Hopi where they were being pursued by red-headed giants with, all these, descriptions. And they've had caves where giant kings would demand sacrifices, okay? That's why we have altars under the ground. Oh, Adam is here, everybody. Adam, I'm sorry that I gave you that weird trip yesterday. Did that trip you up yesterday? The weird... Some people thought it was beautiful, Adam. I just thought it would be nice. I didn't know something hocus pocus happened. I don't know. What do you think? Adam, I'm glad you're here. There are a lot of similar characteristics in Japanese and Native American shamanism. Okay, there you are. So Adam, you're showing that you see it. It's there. So many connections. Roxanne, you said Egyptian artifacts are found all throughout the Southwest. There you are. So, these accounts that we thought were just, don't take, it's an allegory. I'm taking a lot of things very, very, literal. And this is what I mentioned earlier. Let's talk about the Nagas. So the Nagas, all throughout the Serpentine cultures, you will see snake motifs and reliefs and statues, drawings and everything. So the Nagas are part human, part reptilian, or you can say snake, serpent, dragon. And there are statues even with Buddha. I think that's one right there, where Buddha is sitting on a coiled snake. And then you see all the snakes coming up, So the snakes represent knowledge. And that's the whole gnosis. And that is what beguiled Eve, if we go back to Adam and Eve. So the beguilement of that tree of life, of something that was told, don't partake of it. And it's just the aspect of being enchanted by knowing and by having your eyes open and maybe the scales taken off of your eyes. And I wanted to talk about that. I had something I wanted to share a while back about, it came to me about the way that a snake's eyes have a veil over them. Who are my snake handlers? Don't be shy. Do you have snake knowledge? Tell us about the eyes of the snake as I look for my notes. It was something that I wanted to say about that when I was talking about the unveiling of Isis, that Madame Blavatsky wrote about the Isis unveiled. But it was something in terms of the way that a snake's eyes have a veil. So I'm looking for it, but anybody else know about the snake eyes in the veil? If I come across it, I'll share it. It might be in another book. You guys, I'm filling up these books like crazy. I've already told you. You had internet issues, The Widow's Diary. Thanks for returning. Hello. Oh, no worries. You're never late here. Okay. You had internet issues. Oh, that seems to be going around. I'm glad you're here though. And so that little note, I will have to find it at another time. But basically, from what I'm remembering, it's that the snakes. Oh, here it is. All right. So I talked about serpentine beauty and the enchantment and the beguilement. The snake's eyes have a veil. Oh, that's all I took. I thought it was something profound. That's all I wrote. I knew it was another completed thought, but it'll come to me. But it's something about the veil of the snake's eyes and representing that opening, that awakening, whatever they call it, with the snake serpentine cultures and temples and systems of obtaining knowledge. So another thing is the codes, like the various codes that, if somebody takes an oath to be under the teachings and under the system. So here are more of the Nagas. And when you see these reliefs and things, do you think this is just fantasy, mythology? Because it's so prevalent throughout the world realm, in the Americas, over in the Middle East, Far East, Europe, everywhere. There are dragons. There are dragons in artwork. And people look like they had pet dragons and all of this stuff. So what are you thinking about dragons? Do you think that they were actual creatures, or do you think that this is all fantasy? Let me know. So here are more pictures. As you can see, the Buddha sitting on, these are pillows in this picture, but in some of the statues, you'll see the coiled snake, and the Buddha is sitting on, and then the snakes as the hood over the Buddha. Again, this is representing knowledge. And then you see the Nagas. You see the one Naga holding, it looks like a conch shell, which they will write on shells also. So there are fragments that have been found on conch shells and all kinds of things. It's just so much that has been found. Let's see. And here are more. You can see the conch shell that the Naga is holding. And it's hard for me to judge. I'm not going to misgender the Naga, but like it gives me a more feminine kind of, what are you thinking when you see these statues? Does it look like one particular gender? Let me know. The cobra trance. Yes. What is it about the cobra that you look in the eyes and what it puts you in a trance, or puts certain animals in a trance? There's something powerful to that. And I'm not trying to come down on snakes. Like I don't want to have, like I was saying yesterday, some irrational fear of any animal, but I don't really like the way they move, and I don't like their energy, their vibes. Okay. That's just my personal thing. I'm not a snake person. Okay. I said it. If you're a snake person, I'm cool with that. Just let me know. Like if I visit, let me know that the snake is loose and the kids are looking for the snake. I need to know this before I come into the house. Okay. Libby says, yes, real dragons. Okay, there you are. And you know, when we look back in history, and then you take the Bible, the scriptures, and you start to look at even other accounts. If you are from another culture and there are fragments in literature that corroborates the fact that there was some sort of genetic hybrid type of program going on in the animal kingdom, that's very clear. I mean, you can look at it here. You see the Naga has wings. So it's a serpent, it's a, you know, snake type of reptilian, but also winged. And the wings are also seen in other American mythology. So, you know, we're getting around to the Americas now, and you see the reliefs that are in stone, and look at how intricate it is. It's just amazing. So when you look at the Mayan, the Aztec, and you look at the Hopi and all of it, Navajo, it's like you see this across the board. But the Aztec and Inca, Mayan, you see this a little bit more in terms of this style. So you can see sort of style differences, but one of my favorite reliefs is the one where it's Aztec. It looks like a warrior possibly, but he's riding like this flying motorcycle. Remember I showed that? That is like super cool. And you know about the Mayan calendar. And you know that our calendar is a complete farce. But the Mayan calendar is one of those things that has been discussed in every kind of circle, I think a whole lot. I've never done a deep dive on the Mayan calendar, but they had a very elaborate calendar. And, you know, we talked about Quetzalcoatl before, but I want to revisit Quetzalcoatl because, and I could be saying it wrong, sorry, but Quetzalcoatl being the plumed serpent. And for everybody that lives in the Americas, that includes our Canadian family and our family from Central and South America. The thing about the Americas that ties us together are things like this. We are also a serpent culture, whether we want to admit it or not. This is just some of the things that is difficult to, I guess, navigate for some people because we've been in the dark for so long. Some of this information has just been hidden in plain sight. And some people, they have delved and learned these things. But for many people, this is going to be uncomfortable to admit that this American land that spans all of these lands, it is ancient, and there are ancient artifacts that point to a continuity of cultures that go through the Americas, and the serpent is very important to these cultures. So the Quetzalcoatl is a plumed serpent, and it has been alleged that our eagle, our so-called American eagle, is not an eagle, but it is a phoenix. And a phoenix is really, wink, wink, hint, hint, Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent. So how does that make you feel? How do you feel about me saying that? Are you offended, or does that do anything for you? As an American, let me know how you feel about Quetzalcoatl being possibly, that's really the symbol of the Americas. And let's just take a looky see. So when we look at the Hopi nation and some of their art, and these are called, what are these called again? Who are my Hopi? I had it written. These are called, these dolls, or these, they have dolls, I know, but these are, forgot it. It'll come back to me. But this gives you some of a picture of their type of, design. Kachina, that's it. Thank you. I knew somebody was going to know it. They're kachinas. Yes, yes. Kachinas, they're supposed to keep like evil spirits away, right? So that is one of the things that is seen. And again, they had a lot of cities. Okay, so some of the first cities of the Americas were part of the Hopi villages and other nations mixed in. But yeah, this is one of the first cities, and the biggest cities was actually outside of St. Louis. And I want to say that I'm still gathering information. I don't know if the Hopis were involved in the altar rituals, the human sacrifice. And I want to say that in terms of like human sacrifice, things like that, a lot of times this was so ingrained in the culture, okay? And if a tribe or nation wanted to win a war, they, in their system of religion and the cults that they ascribe to and the various gods, if they wanted to get a good result, like especially imagine going off to war, you want to win the war, in their culture you have to take a few virgins and take them to the altar. So this is why this was just rampant, okay? One incident, they said that in one ceremony, and this is in the Aztec culture, one ceremony, there were, I think they said 20,000 or maybe 40,000 people sacrificed at one time. And another thing that happens in these, in this culture is that the person, if this is a leader, a king, his whole like crew, they feel that it is an honor to join that king in death. So they will volunteer to be a sacrifice on the altar. So I'm just saying, like, this is something that these cultures did on the regular. So if a guy had a harem, his whole harem would volunteer to be sacrificed. So if the king was dying or the king was actually captured by another king, then his whole crew. And they have mass graves all through America because of these practices. So when you wonder why certain cities will have an outbreak of crime, or they're known as the capital of murder, like Chicago, St. Louis, you got other cities, LA, we have to wonder what is under the ground. Because if you're a believer, one of the things that we have learned is that blood, it will defile the land. So bloodshed will cry out to Jah, especially the bloodshed of children. Like that is, I mean, no, there's no excuse. I can't. That is just like, no way. And we have grown accustomed to it. If you think about in our nation at this moment, this is a Christian nation. There are so far over 50 million, and this is such a like underestimate. 50 million babies have been taken to the altar. And people, we've normalized it. It's normalized. In fact, in Texas, and see, when you think about Texas, how it's located, when you think about the border cities and all of the bloodshed that happens along the borders and what's happening now, it's way more complicated than I could have ever imagined. And I'm seeing the deeper, meaning to it all. And when you look at Texas and the battle that they had regarding abortion, if anybody doesn't know this, Texas is, I believe, the only state that a woman can obtain an abortion in the 3rd trimester. Texas. So if you want to know why that was such a heated thing going on down in Texas, it is spiritual. If people don't get that by now, I don't know what it's going to take. We have normalized child sacrifice, America. And we not only normalized it for us, we export it to the world. Okay? So that is something that the blood in this land, it has defiled the land. And there have been prophets who have tried to warn us that it was time for sackcloth and ashes, but I don't know what that would take to bring that. But let me move on with the Hopi and the kiva. And I want to see what you think about the kiva. The kiva is where rites and meetings and spiritual ceremonies, it's a space that is underground. So these kivas are all throughout America. And I'm saying the United States part of the Americas. So there are lots of mounds. They have one called the Spiro Mounds. Excuse me, the Spiro Mounds. And this culture, even how they build their homes, you can look at, it's called the Mississippian culture. And I didn't realize that. So the Mississippian culture is something that it is a theme throughout these nations and tribes. And so this is a kiva. As you can see, these are seen in the Central American tribes and nations, and also here in the Americas. You might see these in Colorado, New Mexico, Utah. So anywhere the Hopi nation would be. So inside, you go down into this, deep. It's not that deep, actually. They can be deep, but you can see they're not very deep, and they have venting. I'll show you the venting here. So this is a kiva, and you can see it's not very, very deep, this one, but you can see how it is, it's rounded. And what do you think of when you see a structure like this? Have you ever been inside a kiva? Anybody? That's right, Greek goddess, Texas girl, the rocks will cry out. Doesn't that have a different meaning, as they say now? Like, that definitely has a different meaning now. Hey there, Matthew, who? The zealous demons are the ones who encourage abortion and bloodshed they feed on its etheric vapors. Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining. You're a new name to us. Everybody welcome Matthew who. Thank you for joining. How cool. And thanks for adding your insight there. So this being a kiva, and here are this is a schematic so you can see how this is built. This is, this is definitely like engineering science and its brilliance. You see the venting system there. If you can't see it, I know somebody takes pictures and they blow them up. That I'm so appreciative of that, because who was that? Dana, it was either Dana or Shauna. She caught something in a picture that I didn't see. And I'm going to just say it, okay? Some of the tribes and nations, when they would catch, an enemy, they would take parts of the body, legs and arms, and they put them on these poles, and they would put them around in a circle as they were like it was a spiritual ritual to take your enemy's limbs and put them on a pole. And those were the same people that I was like, yo, those were the ones over Jekyll Island, the Timacuans that were barbecuing all that lizards and reptiles on the barbecue pit, I was like, yeah, we're bouncing. We're not hanging out here. So this is an outside kiva. Has anybody ever been inside? Let me know. And this is, again, more of the art. As you can see, the various animal skins and, the trade with the animal skins. But I want us to also keep in our mind that you will see similarities over in the Middle East. Like I said, you'll see it in Egypt. You'll see, this is, I don't know what to say. This is all the same culture, okay? So anywhere you see a lot of snakes. And I may have mentioned this, but the picture that you see, that painting right there, when we had the lockdown and I was bored sometimes, not really bored, but I couldn't do anything when I was living in New York City. Everything was shut down. So I would try to do other things rather than watching TV. So I picked up this paint by, not numbers, but it was just a thing you could paint. It was already like drawn out. And I picked a snake, and I was surprised. Why did I pick a snake? So I painted that. But you know what I did? When I told you I destroyed all of my arts and crafts, the other arts and crafts, I got rid of things. This is me personally. I got rid of things. So I tore up this picture that I did because I didn't understand. I'd never been like drawn to snakes before. So something was going on with me. The snake was drawing me, okay? So I had to stop it. And I tore up my Helen Blavatsky books and all of my H.P. Lovecraft I got rid of, okay? So here are some snakes. If anybody knows the name of this snake right here, the, this one right here, okay? Let me know what the name of that one is. Is it poisonous? Is it nice? But I want to show some imagery to show that there is something going on with this whole snake thing and the attraction. And I want to know what you think about it. Is this, what do you think when you see the snake brotherhood and what it represents? And this looks a lot like a kiva. So this is a man over on the continent of Africa. I'm not sure. It looks like definitely West Africa, but he is handling snakes in a pit. But it's rounded, and I was just thinking the kiva, I'm not trying to say anything against the Hopi, so don't be mad, but the kiva reminded me of like a snake pit. I don't know. When I think of underground, you think of snakes. So there you go. So, this is kind of a throwback to when I talked about Amaru and Peru and the Aztecs, Mayans, Incas, and the name America coming from Amaru. So you have Tupac Amaru, and this is his outlaws gang or group. And, you could see with the snake, and they had like this, gang code. And this is sort of that LA, the Pyru gang. So the gangs in LA, for those that don't know this, because we have a very broad community here, but the gangs in LA, as you know, some people allege that the whole gang thing is nothing but CIA created stuff to keep, these divisions or lodges, the blue lodge and the red lodge of masonry. And a lot of these gangs, because it's that Aztec vibe that sacrifice the thuggies out of, the thuggies out of India. Then you have Kali with the tongue out. And you see that with a lot of celebrities, they do the tongue, like the Rolling Stones logo, Michael Jordan doing his layups with his tongue out. This is, to me, my opinion, they are giving honor to Kali. And with the gang culture, this West Coast, East Coast, there are street codes. And that's part of what's being like right now. I would say they're stirring the pot between a lot of these East Coast, West Coast. And because we're in a very strange time where people are not feeling balanced, they are starting some of these turf wars where I've heard like an LA part of a gang, you know, and I wanted to mention these gangs, they participate in black magic. So they're doing Santeria, they're doing all of the Palo religions. It's all a part of the gang culture, is to also do animal sacrifices, all of this stuff. So they consult with women that do things, herbs, they do their altars, they do the whole thing. So, and it goes for also a leader of a gang. Sometimes if he was killed and at his funeral, they feel that if they kill people from his, like, who are attending the funeral, you've heard this on the news, that there's like a big outburst of violence at a funeral. That is a ritual. That is a sacrificial ritual. I just want to say that is embedded in this Nephilim religion of these ancient peoples. Okay, so we need to know these things. That all lines up. So Tupac took the name of a king from Peru, basically a Maru. And like I said, that is where America comes from, they feel. Because, you know, Vespucci, whatever, they say that, you know, all this stuff is debatable. You could split hairs over it, but I'm just going to say allegedly, okay? And so you have this weird connection with the muses, the poets, Tupac and all these people, Nipsey, these are the poets, the musicians, and they determine culture. So, you know, whether you like it or not, whether you know about Nipsey Hussle or DJ Academics or Whack 100, whether you keep up with this or not, it's still going on. Okay. And they are the kings and queens of this American culture, and they export it out to the world. Okay, and this is very important that we see this and we'll understand how it connects and why there is so much bloodshed on the ground. The land is defiled with the bloodshed, and we need to get very serious about that and not ignore it and just want it to go away because it doesn't make us feel good. I want to feel good. I don't want to think about this stuff. Don't be a doomer. Okay, so let's talk about the Snake Brotherhood, right? It's snake season, y'all. So you'll see the snake represented in Gucci. Okay, so you Gucci people, I don't know, do you feel good wearing a snake around your waist? How does that feel? Snake Gucci people, keeping it Gucci, okay? Oh my goodness. Girl Code, you're here. Yeah. Girl Code's here again. Thanks for joining. Yes, our Girl Code is here. Annabelle Echo, hello. You like the theory? Thank you, Annabelle. If you have a competing theory or anything, share it, because this is a engagement. We share. I'm not some guru, okay? Belinda, where have you been, sis? This is like a nice little get together here. Belinda, thank you. Now, Belinda, you are part of one of the nations, right? Am I correct? Let me know. If you have any knowledge, please drop it on in there for us, okay? So, and if I've missed you, I'm going to catch up with you. So the Gucci snakes. Now, I'm going to tell you, I even saw a pastor a passa wearing Gucci snakes. I think it was allegedly Jamal Bryant down there in Atlanta that took over for Eddie Long. I think I saw allegedly Jamal Bryant in the snake fashion of Gucci with these snakes, okay? That may be okay, just a little bit odd for me, but you can see all the snakes, okay? What is this, everybody? Okay, they even have the Yeezys with the snakes, so you can have your snake glasses. Am I being hard on the snakes? But what's going on here? What are you feeling with the snake vibration? That it's just such a, like I said, the culture of the American streets is very powerful. And like I said, it's based on this Naga. I'm gonna get back to the Nagas underground. I'm gonna talk about it again, but I'm just getting through some of the stuff I missed yesterday. Okay, so yeah, these people love it in their homes, also in decor, the whole snake. And then, this is an Italian brand. So you think of the Roman Empire also. And when you think of the Roman Empire, it is all of the empires pretty much. They're all mixed and everything. The Babylonian, it's just all the same to me. Greek, it's all the same. So you got the snake. They love it. I don't know. And another person that people are going to have to apologize besides David Icke is actually Alex Jones. And I just heard this. Who was it that said, oh, it was Salty, who said he loves Alex Jones, but he was like, Alex Jones deserves an apology, okay? Now, this is why Alex Jones also deserves an apology, because anytime he talked about the elites and their drinking of blood, he sounded like a wackadoodle. But, a lot of people were talking about this in 2020, and, they've lost friends and family over bringing this to the forefront. And now it's interesting because this actress, Megan Fox, is that her name? Megan Fox. Yeah, she's Megan Fox. She admitted to drinking the blood of her man, Machine Gun Kelly, this guy right here. They drink each other's blood, and, people have been talking about this, but she tried to downplay it by saying, we don't drink a big goblet full of blood. We just take little bits of each other's blood. And she said it. You can look it up. I'm not going to play it, but she said they do it for ritual purposes. Okay. Ritual purposes. So they are not hiding what they do. This is the part of the times that we live in where they call it, there's a term for it. It's called, where they can put it right there in the open. It's not hidden. It's no need to hide it anymore. So they will tell you this is what they do. Okay. And then they'll gaslight you at the same time that they'll call you some conspiracy theorist because you're bringing it out to the open. But if you look at the ancient history, it makes sense, because these Nagas, these reptilians that they serve, these Nephilim spirits, these demons, this dark world that they serve, it is operated on rituals of blood, of torture, of violence, hence the gang warfare that's increasing in our cities. And people have such short fuses, the anger and hatred that, we've heard that, in these times, it's nation against nation, brother against brother, unfortunately. It's the times that we're in, but they are increasing their darkness, but it's just right there in the open as well. So you have like Quetzalcoatl, this is more imagery. And this is one I know we talked about before, because corn is a very big staple of native indigenous people. And we know that corn is one of the most messed with, like the Frankenfood thing. So they mess with the corn so they can mess with the indigenous people. And, I think this represents that. But it also represents, we can see the caduceus of the medicine world is also part of this reptile snake wisdom knowledge or whatever. So here we see the serpent, more of the serpent, and the pyramids, which pyramids are all over the Americas. And, you can see the plumed serpent. And let me know if you think this is really actually the symbol of the Americas. Do you think that this is really our eagle? Let me know. That has been alleged. This one reminds me a little bit of an Ouroboros kind of thing. It's all related. And so you can see the plumes, and as you can see the altar at the top of the pyramid, and you see the human sacrifice. And sometimes when a person, let me take myself off for a minute. Sometimes when a person volunteered themselves as an honor killing, they also would give them certain herbs. And I heard that they give them tobacco, like a high dose of tobacco, and that kind of drugs them. They have also shown that when they would take the virgins and do the mass, human sacrifices, some of those virgins, because they also had the culture had the knowledge of embalming and preserving bodies after death, like the Egyptians and all the other cultures. So they had all of that knowledge. And some of these young girls that they have found in caves down in Central and South America, they look like they're just sleeping. Everything has been preserved. Have you all seen that? Where the skin is still intact and their hair is still intact. And they just, like one girl, she was just, it looked like she was praying or kneeling or just sitting. And she, they may have just buried her alive, because some people, that's what they did. They would bury them alive. So, I know this isn't fun talk, but sorry. So this is, as you can see, the human sacrifice involved in it. And this is one of those things where you see the 33 degrees, and this is the double-headed eagle. But really, they say that subliminally, or, this is actually the phoenix or the plumed serpent. And so here's a relief, and this is showing, it looks like one of the priests, and he's, doing a sacrifice, ritual. And as you can see, the serpent architecture, you see the dragons, or whatever you want to call them, and the snake dragon found in the stonework. It's like all over. And then, there are the Olmecs, which are ancient peoples of Mexico. And, they were all through the Americas, the Olmecs. So there's a lot of, argument, because everybody wants to be Kangs, every group wants to claim these people. But I just want to say, all you, we was Kangs, we was Quains, just know that before you want to claim all of these tribes and nations and peoples, you might want to do some research, because you might not really want to be a Kang, okay, of a certain group, because it ain't what it is. It really isn't cool what some of these groups were into. Not all of them, but just know, we need to know what we're claiming. It's not just as cool because they wear feathers and, you know, it sounds exotic to say you're a this, and everybody wants to be an Indian and this stuff. But just know that these are ancient people that came over. They, listen, some of them came over from the Orient, as they say, the Asian plateau, walking or not migrating, rather, from Russia, Alaska, coming right across. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can see that all of these lands were basically, some people believe, all one, you know, thing before these cataclysms. So, you know, this looks a lot Egyptian-y to me. Like, you know, if you look at the headdresses and things like that. So, yeah, that's a better picture of that relief. So you can see how they were, it's very violent. And this is some of the altars that you will find all through the Americas. And so some real estate developers, they have built right over these things. And I don't know. I think that that's why some people experience a lot of things in their home. And as you can see, this is what I was talking about, where all of these people, look at them, they're just killing them, sacrificing, putting them in mass graves. And this is an honor for some people. So this is a part of the culture. And you can see all of the pyramids in the back. So again, the pyramids and Egypt and all that, it's all one. Come on. And you can see the dude, he's holding a head. I mean, and then you wonder, like, this, the gang culture, I'm just saying. And so here's a picture of how the mounds, some of the mounds, they find the burial chambers with all of the riches, you know, the gold and the things, the statues. And then you can see all of the other areas. Sometimes they have other places for their crew, their servants and their concubines and everybody. So they may be in another mound, but these are all through the Americas. So, you know, here we are, Quetzalcoatl. And, you know, I just wonder, what is this marathon that, you know, Nipsey Hussle was saying was going to continue? Because, you know, I used to like that song, you know, and he talks about like just how cold-blooded he, you know, supposedly killed people, like, and throws somebody's body in the desert, you know. And this is how cold, you know, the street culture is, or they, at least the poets will sing or rap about this lifestyle. Some of them do not live the life, some of them do. But the people that listen to it, they are living this life. So it's like very violent. And again, I denounce the fact that I normalize, I like the beat, I like the music, I got, you know, enchanted and beguiled by it. But when I think about it, it was really cold, very cold-hearted and cruel. And, you know, here we go, a little snake mama. Look at her, somebody's little abuelita over there with the snake. She's not afraid. I'm telling you, I know she's a fun grandma, right? Who has a grandma who got a little abuelita like that who will grab a snake in a minute? She probably spun it around and tied it in a knot. Who's got an abuelita like this? She's cute as ever. Don't mess with her. But, you know, I want to show you this snake sisterhood, because if it's a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood too. So you got, look at the makeup with a snake in your eyebrow, for real. So, you know, you got the queen of the Lilith coven here with her snake handbag. And then you have Gucci merged with Disney. Something's not right here. I'm just saying, something's really off. And, you know, this is like seen as sexy. What's up with this? I mean, she's got the snake print outfit and the snake tied around her neck, whatever this is. And she's some kind of reality star. I don't know a lot about her, but she has an exotic Middle Eastern, I forget what country she comes from, but she's from the Middle East. And, you know, she's beautiful and everything, but I'm just saying, like, what the heck is going around? Nappy Mimi Q, you said you're on the floor, not spin. That's what, you know, that Abuelita looked like she would take that snake and she would spin it around. It would probably die of fear. And, you know, we got poor little Brittany here. I don't look down on her. I feel bad for this woman because she was put into this, she was sold into this by her parents. But, you know, she did her snake sisterhood ritual. But, you know, and then you have Beyonce. She has a little snake thing going on. She got that snarl. You know, these people, they host a lot of spirits, lots and lots of spirits, where they're not even themselves anymore. And something interesting I want to just put in here about Beyonce, that I found interesting is that Beyonce, suppose this is alleged, she has some kind of thing about, you know, they all have a thing about Egypt and going to Egypt. I was also caught up in that too. But she got into some sort of disagreement with one of these very famous tour guides where he takes you into, you know, the sacred part of Egypt, the Giza Plateau. But I heard that she did something that really turned him off, and she was forbidden from coming back to Egypt. Does anybody know? Anybody got any sauce on that? Like, was Beyonce banned from Egypt because something happened between her? I don't know what she could have been. My imagination is she might have wanted to do some alleged ritual or something. Who knows? And they were like, not today, Satan. Not today, Sasha. You're not going to be doing no rituals up in these places. And, you know, you have Aaliyah, which it's alleged that she was a sacrificial offering. And she's the reason why Beyonce was able to take the crown as queen, because they got her out of the way. That's all allegedly. And you have Rihanna, Snake Sisterhood. What are you all thinking about all this? Is this sexy? What's the deal? Girl Code, you said Beyonce real name is Anne Marie Latrace. Really? Is that her real name? Interesting. Yeah. Wow. It's a real name. And then this was interesting. This showed some of the native, the nations, but this looked, because they say some of these people, I believe it's the Hopi, or it's another like Georgian nation, where they're more of a matriarchal and they determine your lineage through your mother. So some of the nations, they are more matriarchal. So this looks like women who look like they had captured some enemy women, and they're doing something. I don't know if they're going to do some kind of something with them, but these are some of the, you know, houses that you may see around still throughout the Americas that are part of some of the nations and how they built their dwellings. And this is an example of one of the nations in Georgia. They had these structures where you could see the beds. It almost looked like bunk beds. And then they had meeting places where they sit around and have the meetings. And then, you know, they have the protection of the village, and these are all connected as loose networks of trading, because most of them, they're self-sufficient. They don't need, you know, to go to Kroger or Trader Joe's. They raise their own food and everything, so they're self-contained. And that's probably something we all need to take a little note out of. And, again, with this snake sisterhood, there's this dark motherhood that, has risen. And I try to, just shine light on it whenever I can, because it's very dark and it's been normalized. It's been, I don't know, made to be attractive, to have this sort of cold hearted, not nurturing way. And we just have to reject this part of the culture. And this again comes from that Medea vibe, that Medea goddess, who I'm going to talk about at another time. But Medea was, again, the goddess that she sacrificed her children on the altar of convenience because she wanted a man and the children were in her way. So she sacrificed them. And the Medea goddess is a lot deeper in terms of, like I said, the whole media, the manipulation, the spinning of narratives, the gaslighting. That's why we get media, because media is nothing but just deception and how to get a narrative to work and to gain influence, whatever, power. So there's a lot to it. And this is kind of that imagery of the Medea. A lot of plays, they do a lot of plays of Medea, the play. And so this is just a scene from one of those. So you can see how she's, talking to the children, but this is a mother who's going to sacrifice her children. And another thing I wanted to talk about as I circle back to the Nagas is that when I grew up, one of the things that was taught to me was Puff the magic dragon who lives by the sea, right? Let me look up the lyrics. Who knows Puff the magic dragon? Who learned it when you were a little child? And why is it that we are singing about dragons and stuff? So it says Puff the magic dragon that lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Hana Lee. Little Jackie Paper loved that rascal Puff and brought him strings and sealing wax and other fancy stuff. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Hana Lee. Oh, it's just repeating it. Oh, here's another stanza. Together they would travel on a boat with billowed sail. Jackie kept a lookout perched on Puff's gigantic tail. Noble kings and princes would bow whenever they came. Pirate ships would lower their flags when Puff roared out his name. It says a dragon lives forever, but not so little boys. Painted wings and giants' rings make way for other toys. One gray night it happened, Jackie Paper came no more, and Puff, that mighty dragon, he ceased his fearless roar. His head was bent in sorrow, green scales fell like rain. Puff no longer went to play along the cherry lane. Without his lifelong friend, Puff could not be brave. So Puff, that mighty dragon, sadly slipped into his cave. And so it just repeats Puff the magic dragon. So who listened to Puff the magic dragon? I knew somebody was... Peter, Paul, and Mary. I used to listen to it as a kid. The title is about marijuana, I believe. But I know that it said that it's about that, but I'm just saying on like a cultural level, it didn't turn out. I'm saying the origin had to be, it's something about dragons, right? But yeah, I know, Amber. Santea, hello there, sis. Thank you for joining. So nice to see you. So, yeah, right, sis? Check out the White Rabbit. Isn't that interesting? So I'm looking at things a little different, okay? Because you'd never liked the song, Tina? Yeah, now that we're thinking about things differently, I certainly wouldn't want to teach this to a child. Now, I mean, a lot of things that are for children are definitely disturbing, but there's something about this dragon thing. And so I just want to also, I want to read something out of, I think it might be the Book of the Bees. I'm just going to repeat what I talked about the other day about, just bear with me. Hang out with me a minute. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, okay, the Book of Adam and Eve. It's the Apocrypha. Look out, she's looking into uncanonized um scriptures. Are we going to I'll call it historical accounts, okay? Fragments. Okay, so I want to read about the Naga, which this is what I wanted to submit to the chatmosphere about the Naga. And let me know what you think. And I just have to find where it is. I'm looking at the first book of Adam and Eve from the Apocrypha, and it's also in Genesis, but I just want to read. Maybe it wasn't. Hold it. Oh, this is so good, by the way. I'd love to see. I have another channel because I lost my channel like what, couple years ago. I lost my first channel, but I have a backup channel, and I was thinking if you guys would like this, I want to take one of those backup channels and I just want to read the apocryphal like texts. I just want to read them and do content just around like the Book of Revelations, all of the apocryphal like apocalyptic poetry writings, scripture. And I want to take the Book of the Bees and a lot of the apocryphal books, and I just want to do like strictly content around that. If you would like that, I'm thinking about doing that. So let me know if you would like to look at it, if I did something like that, and I will let you know when I would post the first things up. I'm looking for this. Oh boy, you all. I should have found it before the stream. I thought I had it up. Okay, this is it. I found it. Okay, bear with me, bear with me. And this is what I'm thinking about when I think of the Nagas. This makes sense to me. Okay. I just have to scroll through it. I want to read it from here. Could you give you, of course. Okay. All right, I have it. Okay, now I want to read this passage from, let me go back to the picture of the Nagas, or do I go forward? Sorry for doing this too fast. I'm going to go back to the Nagas while I read this. It was one picture that I just want to. Okay, I'll have that one as I read it. Okay, so I'm reading from this is the sacred text of Adam and Eve. Okay, so this is when they took of the fruit, okay? And God called them. Now they know that they're naked. Okay. I commanded thee not to eat it. Adam said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave to me, and I did eat. And God questioned Eve in like manner, and Eve said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And God cursed the serpent. Okay, so I can just interchange that with, I'm thinking this serpent is this beautiful plumed dragon. Beautiful, like, okay. So God cursed the serpent, saying, cursed art thou above all beasts upon the earth. With the cursing of the serpent, who was the tool of Satan. Satan, who had instigated the serpent, was himself cursed. And immediately his legs were destroyed, and he crawled upon his belly. And instead of being an animal, became a hissing reptile. And God set enmity between the serpent and man, saying, he shall smite the heel of man, but man shall crush his head. And the food of the serpent shall be dust. So I wanted to say, and tell me if this makes sense. But the way I look at this now is it makes sense to me when it says he will, the serpent will not be an animal. So I think of a warm-blooded, like giving birth to live babies, not eggs. But to go from that warm-blooded to now not having legs, but now crawling. So when I think of the Nagas, I'm thinking that is what's underneath the earth. These are the ones having the cities underground. They are a hybrid of some, I don't know. Help me out, everybody. Am I off base? But that's what I'm thinking, is that explains the no legs thing. And if there are accounts of people having met up with these Nagas, then that makes sense to me. I'm just saying. And then, the wisdom and the knowledge that is promised and all of the secret sciences that have been taught to mankind. And I'm just, I know that Azazel is, part of this teaching mankind how to make weapons and all of this stuff. So I'm just saying, like, this is what I'm thinking. I'm working on this as a theory. Okay. So that's what I wanted to just say and read that account. So I'm going to go forward back to where I left off. So I'm sorry if it goes fast, but I'm going to go back to. Okay. Puff the Magic Dragon. All these things being catered to children. It's just interesting. You have the little boy riding on the dragon. And you think about the sea, the marine creatures. I want to talk about that. But also, I have this thing about, I just pray that women will begin to protect the babies. A bear, a mother bear, would not let anyone harm her babies. She would die herself before somebody harmed her baby cubs. And I believe that a culture is a society, a civilization is judged by the way they treat their babies. They're vulnerable. And so when we have this pride about who we are, we have to also have a humility about the fact that on this land, babies are not safe in the womb and children are not safe playing outside anymore. So what kind of society allows that? when you have bears that would not allow that? I'm just asking. It's uncomfortable, but we need to be humble, not proud about our record. And, the fact that women are just, part of this snake culture as well. And, I just wanted to show that this is one of the, the flags of the Hopi nation. And, as I said, any culture, I look at how they carry their babies when I travel. I look how they treat their babies. And this is just so beautiful of, some of the Hopi women and how they carry their babies. And, I get a good feeling when I see stuff like this. And these are the Hopi women that have the hairstyles that, makes you think of somebody. They call it the squash blossom. And have you ever seen this hairstyle anywhere? Does it even ring a bell? And you can see the women doing the elaborate hairstyle. They use some sort of apparatus. I'm not sure if it's a bone, but it's a curved like device that they put into the bun. So what do you think? What do you think? The Hopi. So they were the ones that told us that the Nagas were underground. And they were known, the Hopis are known still for their beautiful pottery. That's right, a papoose. I love that name. Papoose. Girlco, you said humble, the word of the, yes, humble pie. Give me a second slice of humble pie. And yes, bam, there we are. Now we know why, the influences are there. I know that this has been discussed, especially with the Star Wars, where, where they got the inspiration, as they say, they look to ancient cultures and they mix it all up. That's right, the princess. That's right. I heard Abby, my mom told me that one of my aunts from Savannah, she wore her hair like this. So, it happens, right? And this was one of my trips to Ethiopia. This is one of my favorite pictures. When I saw this mama, I was just, my heart melted. I just had to meet her. And she was so lovely. But she, came to the clinic one day with her baby. She had one on the front, one on the back. And I mean, she was just so beautiful and, amazing, right? And again, in Ethiopia, and I just love to see babies carried this way. This is just so beautiful. So, I just wanted to end on that, just some beauty. And I think I covered a lot of what I wanted to, some of it I'll keep for another, because we've been at this for a minute, but anybody got anything they want to share? Anything? What's new? So yeah, I have some other things in the works, and I will be back. We'll do some more live streams. What's new? What's good? So what do you think about any of that? Has anybody read some of these things like the Book of the Bees? Because I want to talk about that also, because I started looking at some of the tablets. I want to talk about the Emerald Tablet of Thoth, and some of those things, especially Nimrod. So I've been doing a lot of research about Nimrod or Gilgamesh or whatever name you want to talk about. Some people feel that Gilgamesh, that was one of the real main reasons why we invaded Iraq, is because of a lot of this stuff that is termed mythology. And like I said, they so-called found the body of Gilgamesh, Nimrod, and they got his DNA. And you know, this whole thing about, one of the things about these pyramids as burial chambers is that they believed in resurrecting the king at another time. So these chambers, so-called, have some resurrection technology, they think. So they want to bypass Jah and they want to do their own thing. And that's part of like that Tower of Babel thing. So I'll talk about that when I discuss Nimrod. But I want to talk about some of the Coptic people from other, like, you know, there's a group of Coptic believers out of Hungary. They are in Turkey. They are in Ethiopia, Egypt. They are all throughout the world realm, and they have fragments of letters and things that just give us more insight into these stories. And I'm loving reading them. So I will share them, and I hope I have this stuff for the Gilgamesh Nimrod thing soon, but it's a lot of research because I really want to understand Nimrod, because allegedly, okay, don't get upset at me, I'm just the messenger right now, but some people believe that Nimrod is like they're going to resurrect him one day. Some people believe that they're looking forward to Nimrod coming back. Okay. And I don't know about all that, but hey, he better not come around here, Nimrod. We don't want none of that. Tenye, you're here. Well, hello and thank you. So glad. Thank you. I'm going to continue tying it all together, and we'll talk about, I'll have all you little soccer moms talking about WAC 100, DJ academics. We'll talk about Gilgamesh. No, we're going to tie it all together because, like I said, all of these things do tie together. And I know it sounds like just pop culture and foolishness, but it lets us know where this culture, it's imploding. It really is. A lot of it is unraveling. So you can just observe it as it unravels and just stabilize yourself. I mean, this thing, like I said, it's about a choice, okay? Whose code do you want to be on? I want to be on a code. And you know, if you have somebody, like if you had a rich relative that puts you in their will, and you know, you're in their will, I'm just saying, I know whose will I want to be in. So it's an easy choice for me. You know, his yoke is easy and his burden is light. Okay. So I just always want to invite anybody in these crazy topsy-turvy times. You cry out to Jah. You cry out to Jesus Christ. If you are in a pinch, you know, you could always cry out to him. Okay. If you are in a desperate place, I am just sharing with you. I have been in desperate places and I've cried out Jesus Christ. And I'm going to tell you, the name has power. Okay. There's no other name that has power like that. Okay. So you don't have to feel like you got to make a decision right this minute. But if you need him, he's there. Okay. Speed dial, baby. No other God. You can have them on speed dial if you're in a pinch. Okay. So I love you all and I will see you very soon. Okay. Blessings and love always. Thanks again, everybody. you.